Welcome to the Skip and Shannon Undisputed podcast. I'm Joy Taylor. You can catch us Monday through Friday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 Pacific on FS1. Here's what this podcast is all about. It's an unscripted, unfiltered, undisputed version of the day's show, and there is a lot to get into in today's podcast. Shannon thinks that Dan Quinn's head coaching performance in the Super Bowl was a fireable offense. Skip gives a history lesson to remind us why Tom Brady is so clutch and tells you how good Ron Harper and Scottie Pippen truly were. Fox Sports NBA analyst Chris Broussard checks in to preview the big Saturday night NBA matchup and shares his advice for Kevin Durant on his return to OKC. Plus, Grammy Award winner and our friend Nelly is back today to share his thoughts on some of the Patriots' stand not to go to the White House and also lend his insight on Melo to the Cavs and if Cleveland is in a trick bag. Skip and Shannon, let's debate. We're joined by Grammy winner and friend of the show, Nelly.
Hey.
How are you? He's in rare form.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Mo better.
Let's talk about the Patriots. After their dramatic Super Bowl win against the Falcons on Sunday, tight end Martellus Bennett told reporters he will not be going to the White House with the team. Yesterday, teammate Devin McCourty said he will not be going as well. In a text to Time magazine, McCourty said, "I'm not going to the White House. Basic reason for me is I don't feel accepted in the White House. With the president having so many strong opinions and prejudices, I believe certain people might feel accepted there while others won't. I can't imagine a way I go there."
Okay.
Nelly, how will this play out?
This is the beginning. This is going to get a lot worse before it gets better anytime soon. And I'm talking all the way across the board because now you have to look at all the major sports franchises and how this is going to play out. You know, you have to look at the demographics on a lot of the sports franchises. You know, when you go to NHL, when you go to the MLB, there's a lot of Latin players in the MLB. How does this play with your global branding of the MLB? How does it go with global branding for any sports franchise? I heard you say earlier about the NBA, 95% African-American. Yeah. Matter of fact.
And some of those players would be affected by the ban. Remember, the NBA was calling around and seeing how it would affect some of their players.
And it doesn't even matter. Even if you have some players that want to go, they're not crossing that picket line, so to speak, because you have to come back to work tomorrow. And I don't care who you are. The NBA has already shown they took a man's franchise for speaking his mind in his kitchen. They took his franchise for speaking his mind
Made him.
in his kitchen. True. This was in his kitchen, ladies and gentlemen. Do you understand? You know how deep that is? Like, I love my grandfather, rest his soul. You know what I'm saying? But if you heard some of the things that came out of his mouth in his kitchen.
Donald Trump.
Yeah, exactly.
Taped.
We're secretly taped.
Yep.
And we also saw them move an entire NBA All-Star game
They did.
from Charlotte because of a bill that was passed.
Yep.
And it said, we gone.
And also the political stance. We saw hoodies. We saw Black Lives Matter T-shirts. We saw people, I can't breathe. You have a 95% chance of not having the NBA represented after they win the championship, unless you're gonna use alternative teams or alternative players.
May I just point out that there are obviously a lot of white players who did not vote for Donald Trump either, who have just as big issues in maybe different ways than
I bet they in the NBA.
Well,
I'm just saying.
You remember the Boston Bruins goalie, Tim Thomas.
Right.
In 2000 said he wouldn't go, and he said, and I quote, "I believe the federal government has grown out of control, threatening the rights, liberties, and property of the people." That's what he said. He said it was political. Those are his words. I didn't say it.
Well, again, I think it's just a fuse to the bomb. And I think they are fighting back because you saw the reaction to, this is what, a couple of days after winning the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
This is the immediate thought. This is the thought.
You're not highest of highs. This is what you're thinking.
This is what you're thinking. This is what's on your mind right now is, I'm not going to the White House. That's just how deep this is. This is never going to get better no time soon.
And you heard Devin McCourty. He said some of the prejudices that he speaks of is not representative of what I think of and how I feel. See, now you're starting to see these athletes. It's not only about on-field greatness. It's about morality greatness.
Exactly.
They have conscience. And how can they in good conscience? Because now they're going to, if they were to go, there's like, we saw him trot out a couple of athletes and a couple of entertainers coming and going into Trump. You have yet to see a black that's not in his cabinet come and go to the White House. So now they're starting to see the policies that he's implementing. Because these guys, like, okay, when I take these pads off, I'm black.
What? Yeah. What?
That's
what
my
you mean?
community.
What do you mean? I haven't even celebrated winning my Super Bowl yet. I haven't celebrated the real winning the Super Bowl yet. I celebrated it in Boston with that, but I haven't went to my family, my friends, to the neighborhood I grew up in to show these people off this ring that I've been playing since I was in 8th grade Pop Warner and doing things like that. I'm taking this ring back to the hood. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it's a different mindset. But here's the bigger thing too, and I think, what does Tom Brady do?
Because
he's in a
scheduling conflict, maybe something with his mom, or what?
I told you what it was. and I'll
I feel you with that. But here's, excuse me. But you're Trump. This is your friend. Now, what we call this in the hood is called being in the trick bag. Tom Brady is in the trick bag.
Well, you need to go higher than Tom Brady. He's a friend of the owner.
Yeah, but he's the biggest star. This is what I'm saying is we're talking social-wise. We're talking social media. He's the you don't know if Tom Brady's the biggest star?
One of the most respected owners in pro football.
Only if you're in football you know who he is.
I don't know. I think a lot of casual fans know who Robert Kraft is.
I'm talking about non-football fans know who Tom Brady is.
Okay.
You know who Tom Brady is. If you're the president at this time and you're sitting here, you need this. You need your friend to come vouch for you. You need this validation. Mm-hmm. So how do you play that? Because if Tom goes, half of your team is not going. So I don't know if you're going to CGI in extra players or that selfie's going to be real small or, hey, alternative players, alternative jerseys. You know, he's good with that alternative number throwing around there. You know what I'm saying? So how do you play that? It's going to get worse, a lot worse.
Skip, you go after this. And when Mr. Kraft, Coach Belichick, and Tom Brady, you just said something. They vouching for him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I vouch for Skip Bayless. Mm-hmm. Well, Skip Bayless, man, Skip, I vouch for him.
1,000.
I said, I know the man.
Mm-hmm.
So Skip Bayless Skip Bayless can call Shannon Sharpe.
For a favor.
And say,
I need you.
Shannon, don't say anything else. All I'm going to say is when and where. Because I'm going to vouch for it. There are certain people that you vouch for. Now, it's interesting. Well, we don't believe with everything. What I want to know, what is it? Is it the misogyny? Is it the xenophobe? What are the issues that you differ on? Right. Because, see, my friendship comes with conditions. I'm not going to allow you to say and do certain things and have me, because that's my name. I got to vouch for that. So, no, bruh, you saying and doing that, you on your own. Take it away, Skip.
So, just for the record, before I get deeper into this, Tom Brady was angered and alienated by a quote that came from Obama's press secretary at the time. This was 1 week after the Deflategate allegations broke after that AFC Championship game against Indianapolis and Foxborough. And the press secretary took it upon himself to take a sarcastic, gratuitous shot at Tom Brady's lack of PR skills in his session that he did with the media. And I can just tell you that he was angered by it to the point he said, then I'm not going to participate in this championship celebration at the White House. Now, you can take that or leave it, but that's just what happened. So now we come full circle 2 years, and we got a big dilemma here for this football team that has been very unified, together through all these Super Bowl wins. And somehow the relationship of the owner and the coach and the quarterback, the big three, did not threaten the unity of this team during the football season, right? Because it seemed to stay together, right?
I don't think it played in their mind. I don't think they thought about it.
Okay, maybe not. And you told me from the start that your golden rule of your locker rooms that you led so many times, no politics and no religion will be discussed in this locker room. But maybe this is a new day. Maybe the locker room door has been thrown open, and now maybe some politics are going to be discussed in the locker room.
I don't think it's, listen, and I don't know this for a fact, I don't think it's that big of a deal in the locker room. You know what I'm saying? He may get guys that's teasing him about it. You may get, again, because at the end of the day, it's about football, and they were winning. They're going to stand behind him when they walk on that field. He's got their undisputed confidence. You know what I'm saying? They're going to march behind him. I think once it comes out of there and people are having to force to make decisions, like Bennett has to make a decision based on his reality of life.
Yep.
He has to make a decision based on his reality of life. We're outside the locker room now. Now it's more like, yo, Tom Brady, I follow you on the field. Now that we walking out the locker room, you on your own.
Okay.
You're not affected by
You-
because these
not
guys
affected.
are the minorities
Yep.
that's
Exactly.
being affected.
I got
Tom Brady is not the minority. He's in the minority that's being
Yeah.
most helped.
I don't think it's
by
that big of a
President Trump.
deal in the locker room.
No.
In the locker room, they probably joking. Hey, you got your Trump hat on. Guys
Okay,
probably
all right.
playing with the Trump hat, probably tried it on. And
Okay, so
ain't no
now-
telling. You see what I'm saying?
Now it's a big deal because
Oh, yeah.
as a team, you would like to be able to go together to celebrate your achievement
team.
at the White House,
Yes.
where our government is seated. You know, like this is America, the United States of America, and it's always been such an honored tradition to go there. Now it's a new day, new deal.
Right.
So now, are you going to vote as a team? That's what I would do. You should have a team vote with a team meeting.
That's
What
not
are we
gonna fly.
You don't think so?
Because you didn't make a vote last year or the year before that.
Well-
you didn't make the vote when Tom Brady, when the head of your team decided that he wasn't going to come. You just said, first of all, this man is the greatest quarterback to play this game.
Yep.
You just won another Super Bowl. You just called him the most clutch player since Michael Jordan. If he's not going, he's the captain. He's the head. He already decided.
This is a new day and a new
He
president.
opened this box up. No, but Tom Brady started this. He started this. Let's just get out in the
Okay,
bag.
well,
And I'm not
then-
faulting
then-
him because I love Tom Brady,
Okay,
but he started it.
Then you should vote as a team. As a team,
If
not
you
to
did
go.
not vote last election, why you gonna vote this election?
Okay, so do you want 7 Patriots to show up at the White House?
That's not on me. As a player, that's not on me. My representation lies, and listen, I did my job. Going to the White House, I don't get paid for. Going to the White House is not in my contract. I'm done. I did my job. How you look after the football season, that's on you because you chose to go that way. That's all I'm saying. Like, as an owner, you chose to come out of state. You didn't ask me. We didn't make a team vote when you said, I support this man. Tom Brady we didn't have a team vote when you were blatantly showing that you were supporting Trump. We didn't have a team vote when you said, yo, I don't like the way some of the Obama administration. He could have came to that team and said, yo, the Obama administration made a couple of comments. How do you got President Obama made a couple of comments. How does the team feel about the comments? This is how I feel. Maybe they could have had a conversation about it. Maybe some of them players could have came and said, man, I would really appreciate it as a team if you went for us. He didn't give that choice. He took it to make a personal opinion. When you open that box, that box is open. You can't put that lock on that box and say, now we taking votes. All in favor, raise your hand. Oh, no, you took that vote last year when you locked it out and said you weren't going. That's a done deal.
Okay,
and
so
I know
what-
them Bennett brothers.
Yeah.
They not going. If that man said he's not going,
They're not.
McCourty, no, there's a lot because
but I'm talking about them Bennett brothers. McCourty, I don't know him personality-wise. You know, he's a good player. Them boys, them Bennett boys,
No, you're right.
there's no way they're going.
You got it.
the minorities are the one that's being affected. Those are the ones that are going to be most united behind this cause.
And it's not going to stop there. That's my point. My point is like other sports. The other sports, where does that leave the MLB? You have a lot of Latin players on the MLB. You have a lot of Latin players in your minor leagues. You have a lot of Latin players across your borders. You have a big presence in Mexico.
You're right. This is just the beginning. I do think it's interesting that it's this team. I wonder if we'd be having the same conversation or what volume of conversation it would be if the Falcons had won, because it's very, very unique.
That probably would have been an easy united
three-
united
Well,
front.
that's what I'm saying, because of Kraft, Belichick, and Brady's
right.
relationship with Trump, this becomes an
You
interesting
remember on
conversation.
Media Day when they were asking the owners, they were on stage, who's the most famous person in your phone? Arthur Blank blurted out, Donald Trump is in his phone.
Yeah.
So we know, Mr.
It would
Blank.
be a very interesting conversation had it been a different team winning.
No mercy.
Are you hiring? Do you know where to post your job to find the best candidates? Posting your job in one place isn't enough to find quality candidates. If you want to find the perfect hire, you need to post your job on all the top job sites. And now you can with ZipRecruiter. You can post your job to 200 plus job sites, including social media networks like Facebook and Twitter, all with a single click. Find candidates in any city or industry nationwide. Just post once and watch your qualified candidates roll into ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use interface. No juggling emails or calls to your office. You can quickly screen candidates, rate them, and hire the right person fast. Find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by Fortune 100 companies and thousands of small and medium-sized businesses. And right now, Undisputed listeners can post jobs on ZipRecruiter for free by going to ZipRecruiter.com/undisputedly. ZipRecruiter.com/undisputed. That's ZipRecruiter.com/undisputed. One more time, try it for free by going to ZipRecruiter.com/undisputed. Now back to the show.
No mercy.
Saturday night, Kevin Durant makes his return to OKC. Yesterday, Durant told ESPN that the storyline of a feud between him and Russell Westbrook is, quote, fake drama. Let's take a listen.
I realized that early on in the season, I was doing an interview with someone, and I used the word unselfish describing my teammates here, the Warriors. And someone asked Russell a question, asked if he heard what I said about being unselfish, and he phrased the question as if I was saying that the Thunder and their organization and the team was selfish. And once I heard that, I was like, well, they're trying to get in between this thing and make it bigger than what it is. You know, obviously Russell wasn't gonna hear that interview I had about me just talking about my teammates I have now. And, you know, and someone in Oklahoma City phrases to him as if I was calling them selfish. So, you know, it's that easy. It's that easy for the media to twist something up and for the media to make a feud between us.
We're joined now by Chris Broussard. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you, Joy.
Good morning.
How are you?
Great.
Skip, let me start with you.
Yes,
Does
ma'am.
Durant have a point?
He does not have a point. This was Kevin's attempt to defuse the emotion that is boiling toward his return Saturday night.
That beehive he about to walk into.
It's going to be.
Won't be as bad as Cleveland, you think? I don't think it'll be that bad. When
LeBron went back.
Yeah.
Kevin's going to get booed because those people feel so betrayed by him. But he'll be okay, but he can't diffuse it. It's going to be what it's going to be. And for him to try to dismiss what's going on between him and Westbrook as quote-unquote fake drama is just flat out wrong. It won't work because it was very, very real. I'm going to repeat what I've been saying for the last 3 years, what I wrote on ESPN.com. Kevin Durant wanted out of Oklahoma City. He just got sick and tired of trying to coexist with the Russell Westbrook, who was the primary ball handler and primary decision maker for that offense. And I did not blame him for that. I didn't condemn him for it. He just needed a fresh start elsewhere because he didn't think he could win a championship with a Russell Westbrook who dominated the basketball so many times in fourth quarters and down the stretch in close games. And I want to be clear about this. He really liked Russell. In fact, I think he loved him as a little brother, even though they're very close. They're only like 2 months difference in age, but it seemed like Russell was the little brother because Russell stayed at UCLA for the extra year and got a year later start in pro basketball. And so there was nothing personal to this. It was just that Kevin said, I don't think I can win a championship with that guy. And as I enter my 10th year, it doesn't bother my pride. I'm going to join forces with the team that won a record 73 games and to me would have won the NBA Finals if Draymond hadn't gotten himself suspended. So I just wish Kevin now would own that because Russell owns it. And do not forget, this was very real to Russell because they had a little pet saying they called weak or soft players cupcakes, thanks to Kendrick Perkins. It was one of his pet terms. So on July the 4th, when Kevin made the big shocking announcement, Russell posted a picture of him holding up cupcakes for the 4th of July. And it was a subtle shot. You're a cupcake, Kevin. Yeah. And then when Kevin said how refreshing it is to play with unselfish players, I'm sorry, it's going to come across to Russell, even though maybe the question got a little sort of misconstrued.
It come across a 10-year-old.
To a 10-year-old, right. It was.
And I hear him, like, it may not have been a shot. If somebody asks me what's it like at Fox, and I say, man, the people are great, I love it here. Mm-hmm. That's not necessarily a shot at my former employer. Not necessarily. I mean,
kidding.
You could
I'm kidding.
You could really mean, not be thinking about the other.
I got
now, it could be a shot too. Mm-hmm. We don't really know. Mm-hmm. So I can somewhat understand
it's going to come off as a shot.
But to your point, the drama is real. Mm-hmm. Westbrook really did troll you on Instagram with the cupcake photo.
He did.
Westbrook really did wear the photographer's vest.
The photog vest. Oh, I just picked it up.
Exactly.
I just picked it up.
Part of his collection.
You know.
So that's real. You really haven't talked.
No.
since you left. You really did text him that you were leaving. So it's real.
Kevin Durant started this. At his introductory press conference, he said he talked to Russell.
Oh, yeah.
He was a little disappointed, but he understood. Russ said, I got a text.
Yeah.
You told that lie. When you could have just said,
That's
look,
true.
I haven't talked to Russ.
Yep.
But there will be a time and a place that if Russ is amenable, I will sit down, I will explain to my decision with him if that's what I choose to do, and Russ is willing to, accept the invitation. Skip, you knew where I worked for 10 years. Let me tell you like this. You knew where I worked before I got this job for 10 years. If someone were to ask me, well, Shannon, what's it like working with Fox? I said, man, FS1 working with Skip is great. My boss, Jamie Horowitz, he allows me to be myself. What are people going to assume, Chris Broussard?
They going to assume that you mean you weren't allowed to be yourself.
So when you say it's so great to be with unselfish ball players, when everybody felt that was the reason why you left anyway, because Russell was hogging the ball, you joined a team that was 73-9, a team that you had down 3-1, a team that you shot them out of the ball game early in Game 6. But see, don't nobody mention that, but you saw it. So what's Russell supposed to do with this? It ain't no fake drama. You trying to diffuse this situation because you know you about to walk into a hornet's nest and the things are buzzing. You know that. So you can try to pin this on the media all you like. You created this. You could have just said, no, I haven't talked to Russell. There'll be a time and a place if Russell is amenable. I would love to talk to Russell. We had, 8 years together?
Yeah.
8 great years together. And I don't want my decision to leave to weigh on our friendship. I left because I wanted to be in a different situation. I'm a free agent. Russell's a free agent. He can choose to stay or he could go.
Yep.
He chose to stay. I chose to leave and leave it at that. But when you talk about at your introductory press conference, you lean on somebody, yeah, I talked to Russ and he's a little disappointed, but I think he understood. You didn't talk to him. Well, do you know what, Chris? There's a little lie even in the truth. You did. I guess text messages the millennials' way of talking now. It ain't no more.
Well, the question is, did Russell text him back? Which I would assume no.
I'm going to assume no.
I don't know for sure, but
Right.
so even the part about he's a little disappointed, that was made up, if that's the case.
Yeah. So what is Kevin Russ supposed to do with this? You leave. You lie, said you talked to him and he was okay with it. Then you turn around and say, well, it's great being here. I love playing with unselfish players. What Russ supposed to do with that, Chris?
He's going to make that assumption.
Yeah. It's the logical
He gonna make that
assumption.
assumption.
Okay, so now you were there and you feel that, okay, Russ is the point guard. Russ getting as many shots. He's getting more shots than I am. I'm the MVP. Why should I take a back seat to him?
I never had an issue with it. I got it. I'm with you. I'm on that side. I was always on Kevin's side.
Durant's side.
Yeah. And so when he chose to leave, I was fine with
Yes.
it. But he needs to own leaving.
Yes.
He just needs to acknowledge he should have done it right away. It just didn't work out between the two of us. I wish him well. I think he'll be happier without me, and I'm going to be happier without him because I think they are both, in their own ways, happier solo.
You think Westbrook's happier?
Well, he lost in his canter. For a while, they were rolling.
But they weren't a contender. They weren't even close to a contender. I mean, you got a lot of faith in them, but
Hold up, with KD and Russ?
no, with this
Oh,
year.
they got
So
no chance.
I don't think Russ is happy. Now, I think there's a part of him that will take solace in averaging a triple-double.
You will.
Showing how great you
Hey.
are. But I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say he would rather be competing for a championship
Right.
and be able to win it. You know that they would have entered this year and everybody there would have been thinking, we can beat Golden State.
You
Can
have
you
them
beat
down
Cleveland's
3-1.
another question. But they had to think they could have gotten to the final.
They had the team down 3-1. 3-1. A 73, the team that you joined. See, that's what people don't. See, I think this is why people can't understand Kevin's move. This team was 73-9. You had them down 3-1.
And then what happened? They unraveled. And those two couldn't find
Well,
any
Kevin-
mix, any blend
When you
in the
remember
fourth
Game
quarter.
6, Kevin Durant came out in the first quarter and put up like 13 shots.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what
they were
happened?
trying to blow him out, get it over
Right.
with.
Okay.
And
And then what happened?
Instead of playing the
You know
game.
what happened? And Kevin finally decided, I still can't win it with him. We got as close as we'll ever get, and I'm done with it, and I'm fine with that. But remember, Kevin always resented the fact that the organization treated Russell as the man, as he was the guy. He was the alpha male in the organization. And I've told you, and you guys come back at me, I don't mean this with disrespect, but Kevin is more of a complimentary superstar. He's not the takeover guy. And they're trying to find his role for him in Golden State right now because he's come up small a few times
should
late.
be, and I think they're recognizing
They are
Steph should
seeing,
be
and
that
Steph
guy.
is finally saying, wait a second. And what did Draymond do the other night? He took it upon himself to go hard at Kevin, like face-to-face, like profanely hard. And then he said it was a tactic, you know, it was a ploy.
Which I
think it was.
Yeah,
Well,
I believe
he was
Draymond.
grinning about it right after he did
I
it.
don't think it's any big deal.
I don't either.
You know, I mean, guys getting the heated arguments and
But he was
heated
trying
battle.
to inspire him and motivate
But
him.
Skip, you know this, and Chris, you cover this game. Unless somebody is willing to defer, two great players can't play together. When Magic got to the Lakers, what you need, big fella?
Yeah.
Kareem.
He did
and
do
then
that.
He
He
slowly Magic became his team.
Wade did that with
Wade.
LeBron. That's what
Shaq,
they want. Yeah, he
Did
really
he?
backed up.
Kobe and Shaq was good as long as Shaq was the man. But Kobe says, no, I need to be the man now.
He
And
did.
Dr. Buzz, you got to get rid of Shaq.
That is correct.
So unless you got two great players, unless one is willing to defer and says, you know what, for the greater good of the team, I'm going to play second fiddle, I'm going to take a back seat, it won't work.
One thing I'll say is this, and I agree, Durant has to own the situation to OKC. I don't think he has to come out, though, and say, I couldn't play with Russ. He doesn't have to, like, you can just say, I just
That's
didn't
very
think
apparent you couldn't play with Russ.
Well, yeah, I think he just has to come out and say, I don't think we could have won it. Or
Okay.
I would have been happy.
That's fine.
I knew I would be happier playing the style that Golden State plays. I don't think he has to name Russ.
How about this, Chris? I was a free agent. I chose to leave. Teams trade players.
Oh, yeah.
So that the fans get upset when a player leaves.
Yeah.
And he's so disloyal. He has no loyalty. But when a team trades a player, they're trying to get better. Okay, Kevin Durant left. He was a free agent. He doesn't have to offer an explanation. He's trying to win a title.
Okay.
We know that.
The reason the Oklahoma City fans are going to have felt betrayed is Kevin did leave them a little high and dry because it came so shockingly where the organization and Russell thought that he was going to stay. And now you're going to have to give them a year. I'm not going to bet against Sam Presti because he pulls rabbits out of his hat. So let them go another year and then tell me that Westbrook's unhappy with what they put together next year.
Well, the question will be, I think Westbrook, given another year or two in this, where you're competing for the fourth seed,
seven.
not really a factor. Okay, you've done the triple-double thing. Maybe you get your one MVP. He may get tired of this.
Because what if they add another big piece that might shock you? He's
That's
been
gonna
good
be
at
tough
it. He's been really
But he's also let two other MVPs basically go in James Harden and
Okay,
you
but I think
lost
that was
Durant.
the
That's not your
ownership
fault.
on the first on
Yeah,
James
the Harden
Harden.
thing
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
I agree, Sam. You know that's not him, but still, you had basically three MVPs on.
Durant is not a villain, and what this plays to me is he wants to smooth this all over. He's going back to OKC. He knows it's going to be a volatile environment.
It will
As
be.
someone who's been on the other end of that, it will. It will be. But that's just what it is. He's just going to have to take his medicine. That's
Well,
how it works.
I think he's gonna have a huge game.
But you remember the first time that he elected to stay, he signed his contract with no fanfare. I'm here. This is home.
Twitter.
Yeah, like I'm here. I'm here for the long haul. I'm loyal to OKC. Trying to take a shot on the slide. You
Ain't
know.
no loyalty, and it's okay. It's okay.
I got no
do what you want
I
to
got
do.
no problem.
You
with
lose
it.
friends.
That's why I don't
right?
like when they throw that loyal term around. It's a little silly.
No, it
A little
only
silly.
works with-
No mercy. Sunday night, Tom Brady won his record 5th Super Bowl title. Brady led the Patriots to the biggest comeback in Super Bowl history. New England scored the final 31 points of the game. Skip, after that game, you said that Brady passed Michael Jordan as the most clutch athlete of all time.
I did.
Can you explain your take to Chris Broussard?
I will to my friend Chris Broussard. Are you ready for this?
I'm wondering if you're gonna recant. You're not recanting.
No, I'm only going to dig in further because the more I've thought about it,
Okay,
the more I
Carmelo.
believe in this. Yeah. I have a no trade on this one. I am as big a Michael Jordan fan as you will ever find, but I also try to be fair. And I don't think we're being fair to Tom Brady, in part because he looks so unathletic at times. He ran the most unathletic-looking 40-yard dash in the history of the Combine, and he definitely looks unathletic when he attempts to dance, when he's had a couple of beers or whatever in Brazil, when he's celebrating whatever that celebration is
Carnival?
called.
Carnival.
Thank you. And I also think so many people don't like Tom Brady that they can't even let their minds open up to this because they don't like his politics or his Uggs or his supermodel wife or whatever it is. And I'm trying to make all that irrelevant to this discussion.
Okay.
I'm just trying to be fair and step back and say, time out. He keeps doing it on the biggest stage in American sports at the highest level late in games because now not once or twice, but 4 times in his 5 Super Bowl wins, he has been great late. I'm not talking about one sensational 75-yard signature strike for a walk-off touchdown, but I'm talking about that first breakthrough Super Bowl when he was a first-year starter and John Madden's up in the TV booth saying, shut it down, play for overtime. And he goes boom, 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 including a 23-yard pass to Troy Brown to set up the field goal that won the game. Second Super Bowl against Carolina, he was great late with 4 huge passes, clutch passes, accurate passes under supreme pressure to set up the game-winning field goal. Against Seattle, he played the greatest fourth quarter we've ever seen in a Super Bowl, and I know it came down to a very controversial play, but don't hold that against Brady because he went 13 for 15 against the Legion of Boom. I know they're a little beat up, but they were out there, and you always say if you're out there, you got no excuse. So 13 of 15 for 124 yards in the fourth quarter and 2 touchdowns, including the game winner to make it 28-24. And then what he did, what was it, 3 nights ago now? At Houston, it's 28-3. It's impossible what he pulled off. You have to be flawless down the stretch. And when you drive that team 91 yards and 10 plays, including throwing a strike on 3rd and 10 from the 9, you're in your end zone, the game's on the line, and you hit Chris Hogan on an out route and double coverage, just drop it right in his breadbasket. That was his best throw of the night.
Yeah.
And then in overtime, as Shannon and I agreed, as soon as they won the flip in overtime, because he's Tom Brady, you say game over. They're just going to drive the length of the field.
Yep.
Well, that's clutch. That's so clutch that it's effortless clutch, where everybody's just saying, he's so good at this, there's not even any doubt anymore. So I just gave you 4 times that he drove late for the game-winning points, and look who he was doing it with. He was doing it with Troy Brown, who did make 1 Pro Bowl, but that of all the receivers in his 5 Super Bowl victories, that's the only Pro Bowl he had. 1 Pro Bowl for Troy Brown. Then he had Deion Branch, who never made a Pro Bowl. Then against Seattle, he had Edelman and Amendola, who definitely have not made a Pro Bowl. And then the other night, he had Edelman and Amendola and Chris Hogan. Malcolm Mitchell, but he's a rookie, but still. Are there any Pro Bowl receivers in there? And look, I love Michael. I covered those teams. But he did have 2 Hall of Famers in his lineup, right? He had Scotty and Dennis Rodman. Aren't they Hall of Famers?
You usually rip them.
Okay. I don't rip. I rip Scotty.
Scotty's
He's
not
not
a
a
true-
top 50. He's not a top 50 player.
What about Rodman? Is he top 50?
Yeah. As a rebounder and a defender, he was a disruptive, but you want to talk about a force to me. I thought he was really good at what he did as a below-the-rim rebounder.
He was great at his,
and listen, Tony Kukoc, he was just 6th man of the year at 6'10", coming off the bench, lighting it up. He was pretty unstoppable when he'd get in rhythm, his left-handed shot. So my point is, Michael did have that much help. There's not a lot of help over here. I'm just saying, to pull those off, throw into those receivers, you got to give him some credit here. This is this body of work.
Let me. So let me ask you this: when Ty Law picked off that interception in his first Super Bowl and ran it back for a touchdown, what role did Tom Brady play in that?
Obviously, it's a team game.
When Malcolm Butler got that interception, what role did Tom Brady play in that?
Okay, but who put him in position? Who's the quarterback? What's the hardest position to play in sports?
Okay.
He doesn't play defense, so you're going to hold that against him?
That's why it's Jordan.
Because they lose those games
because
for those players.
Because think about this, Skip. The play before he hit the walk-off, what did he do? He stole the ball from Mailman.
Okay, I was there. I'm at courtside.
So that's what it's. See, the thing is, it's
okay,
really.
That's 1. Yeah, I just gave you 4.
But here's the thing, though, Skip.
That's signature.
We're only doing this because it's a team sport. It's hard to evaluate who's more clutch unless you're like Tiger Woods putting the Ty Rocco mediator U.S. Open.
Yep.
Or Serena Williams. But for the sake of argument, we are sports. But because Michael Jordan has more impact on offense and defense, he plays both. You have to give it to him. Because a lot of Tom Brady gets credit for clutch, but Adam Vinatieri kicked two field goals. Malcolm Butler had a pick.
Okay, but again, you're putting me in a tough spot here, but I'm going to argue against you because the most suffocating defensive backcourt I ever saw in pro basketball was the 98 Bulls featuring Scottie and Ron Harper and Michael Jordan across that line. You couldn't get the ball against past half court against them because Scottie and Ron Harper were so long and so great defensively. Scottie was a better defensive player than an offensive player to me.
Look,
okay,
I love Tom Brady, and I don't want to take anything away from what he did. But I think you're punishing Jordan for being so great throughout the game. Tom Brady, all those situations you mentioned, on a scale of 1 to 10, in the first 2 or 3 quarters, he could be anywhere from a 4 to a 7, okay? And then in the fourth, like Sunday, he was a 5 or 4 or 5 in the first half?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe a
and
3.
then, maybe lower. And then in the fourth quarter, in overtime, he's a 10 or 11 or whatever. Okay. Jordan was a 9 the whole game. Okay. And then the clutch, a 9 or a 10.
To your point, I'm not saying Tom Brady was better overall than Michael Jordan. I'm talking about clutch moments, late game clutch moments.
But the disparity between Brady not in the clutch and in the clutch is greater, so it stands out as more, he's great in the clutch. Jordan was just more consistent throughout. He was great all the time. He was so great that he doesn't have those 4 moments that you mentioned with Brady. He never let it get that far. Okay, I compare it to Floyd Mayweather. Do you want to rip Floyd Mayweather and say, well, we don't know if he's got a chin, because he never had to get beat down and never got knocked down and came back and won? He was so great from 1 through 12 that he was never in that position.
Well, he ran better than anybody, but it's okay.
But his deep, Jordan never let himself get in that position. And the few times he did, we know he came through the shot, Utah. He had 5 game 7s or game 5s. Mm-hmm. Back then the first round was best of 5. He was 4-1, 33 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds a game.
Okay, he did miss the last shot that I was at the United Center in Game 5 that led to Game 6. But then
will you ever admit that in a LeBron-Michael Jordan debate?
No.
I'm hearing stuff saying about Jordan that you would never say in a LeBron debate.
I'm having to pick nits here. But remember, Tom Brady doesn't have much help on offense. You don't give him any credit for that.
He has great
He's
help
doing
on
it by
defense.
himself. I know, but in the end,
the
offense it's never been very good. It was terrible on Sunday night. They were shredding the offensive line. Yeah, after Brady got in rhythm and figured it out.
How did he get in rhythm? Because Grady Jarrett wasn't on him.
There was a lot of quick throws to James White that started to open things up a little bit because, now you're doing that to us? We got to do that. He's calling a lot of his own plays. He's his own offensive coordinator. And then the position is so hard to play under fire, under pressure, late in a Super Bowl game. It's the biggest stage in American sports. Am I right about that? It's bigger than the NBA Finals stage.
Well, the playoff, but it's so different in football as opposed to basketball because football, every game in the playoffs is a Game 7. And we didn't see Michael get on the grandest stage and never get to a Game 7. So we don't know how he would have reacted had he had to face a Game 7.
Nope.
He normally ended it in 5 or 6. So we don't know if he'd have got to a Game 7 against the Suns or the Lakers or the Supersonics. We don't know how he would have responded.
No.
But the times we saw him in anything close to that, he always, nobody delivered 100% of the time.
Well, that year,
but he delivered.
The Pacers were really good that year, and it went to Game 7 at the United Center in the conference finals. Remember that?
Yeah.
Mark Jackson and company, Reggie Miller, and Michael was huge in that game. Now, it didn't go to the last shot. They just took the game over.
Yeah, I just side with Jordan because of his influence over the entirety of the game because he plays offense and defense, and Tom really doesn't affect the defensive side of the football. But I already told you, Skip, I thought he was the best quarterback going into the game, win, lose, or draw. And now that he's won his 5th, and it's not a record, Charles Haley had 5 Super Bowls 20 years ago. So Tom Brady is not the first player to win, so we need to stop that record. It's not a record. You can't tie records. Huh?
For quarterbacks.
But you didn't say that. It wasn't I didn't see that in the record.
But that's what the record, when they're referring to the record, they're referring to 5 Super Bowls for a quarterback.
Hey, see,
no one's dismissing Charles Haley.
Chris, you see what we did here? We infer.
Listen,
so we're not supposed to. So Kevin Durant, that's what we do. We're inferring what you meant about Russell.
Shannon, no one is dismissing Haley. I know everyone. I've seen the memes. It is specifically a record for the quarterback.
Where they need to say quarterback. Tom Brady set a record for
also,
quarterback.
or people could use the Google machine and see what the facts
No,
are.
no, we don't want them to Google.
I know
We
that
want them to come to
research
us.
is like
We
this
want-
thing that nobody understands.
Skip and
but
I
that's-
want them to come to
Stop reacting to memes. It's not all true.
Skip Bayless and I want them to come to us to get their information.
Okay, fine. The fact is, it's a record for quarterbacks.
Okay.
Bottom line to this discussion, in the hypothetical all-sport draft, I'm taking Michael Jordan over Tom Brady, but he's not Tom Brady getting enough credit for how effortlessly clutch he is late in tough games in the Super Bowl.
He's the
Because
best big
done-
game
Okay,
thrower of the football in
if
history.
you can make this connection, clutch. Who do you want in the clutch? Michael Jordan or Tom Brady? If you can separate the sports.
Okay, I have a better body of work on Tom Brady than I do on Michael Jordan in the clutch. I just do. But again, you can
One
say he
shot,
was
one-
too good for his own good,
Well, how about
where
this?
he just
Skip?
never got.
Let's phrase it like this, CB. One throw, one shot. You want Tom Brady throwing it, or you want Michael Jordan shooting it?
I have a better body of evidence that I'm going to take Tom Brady with one throw.
But we do know one thing. If it's LeBron or if it's Jordan,
I want Braun. I want Braun.
None of the, we got those facts on tape.
Yeah, we got those
We
tapes.
got you praising Jordan supporting cast.
I don't remember that happening. No mercy. On Monday, LeBron James called a New York Daily News report that he was pushing for the Cavs to trade for Carmelo Anthony, quote, trash. The report alleged LeBron would even be willing to give up Kevin Love for Melo. We're joined once again by Nelly. Nelly, would Melo be a good fit for the Cavs?
With Kevin Love, I think he absolutely would. I'm not giving up Kevin Love. I'm just not. He's worked too hard to have a chemistry. They have a great three-person chemistry, and I don't think you tap that. I don't think you don't touch Tony Parker, Ginobili, and Tim Duncan. You don't touch that. You add, you move around it, you do it, but you know what I'm saying? You add Kawhi to it, but you don't touch that. You don't touch Draymond Green, Stephen Curry, and Klay Thompson. You add Kevin Durant to it, and that's what I think you have to do here. If you could get Carmelo and keep it Kevin Love, and I think that's what LeBron was saying, like, listen, of course I want Carmelo. We know my relationship with Carmelo. And everybody knows the situation now. I think people are underrating Carmelo because he's not playing inspired basketball. And I tell people that from the jump, like,
Thank you.
When you're playing uninspired, I don't care how good you are. You know, you sometimes, negativity brings you down. It just drains you. It drains you of your emotion. So if you go somewhere where you're inspired, somewhere where you believe in the captain, he has no qualms going there, and you know what I'm saying? Listen, okay, I know who team it is when I get here. I know who's in, you know what I'm saying? So he knows his role, and I feel like he'll play a better brand of basketball if he's there because he's well inspired. So yes, if he can get Carmelo without giving up Kevin Love, of course.
Okay, but
of course.
time out. Better basketball player right here, right now, Carmelo or Kevin Love?
Kevin Love.
Better basketball player, Carmelo. Better fit for the Cavaliers at this time, Kevin Love.
Kevin Love is 4 years younger, makes $5 million less, and
that don't make him a better basketball player.
Here's the thing.
Thank
you. Found his role in the team.
Right, role, but he's saying better player. So he's saying if you put them one-on-one on the court, who's going to win? If you put them heads up on the court, who do you think is going to win?
And they're both happy.
That's how I interpreted
both
the
happy.
question.
Like they're both.
I'm taking
better fit for the team. I'm with you.
I'm taking Kevin Love. Kevin Love has redefined his game. It's hard going from 1 to 3. Kevin Love was de facto leader in Minnesota, averaging 26 and 14. And for him to come out and just hang out by the three-point line and says, you know what, I got to drop 20 pounds because I'm not going to be banging like I used to. I'm going to be shooting threes. He's a marksman now.
I like Kevin Love. I don't want to talk bad, you know what I'm saying? But I definitely think Carmelo is a much better player. If you can get Carmelo Anthony without giving up Kevin Love, it's a slam dunk.
Because it doesn't make any sense to me.
No.
Because first of all, if you give up Kevin Love, he and Tristan Thompson is the only size you have. That's the only rebounding you have. So if you give that up, you become even smaller. So what I don't see, look, Phil wants to give him away. We'll take him off your hands, Phil, but you're not going to get anything in return.
But they're already talking, though. People fail to realize, you don't think Carmelo and LeBron are talking? They're best friends. Of course they're talking.
Sure they are.
Of course they're talking. Just like we knew Kevin Durant was talking to Steph
Draymond.
Curry and Draymond and all them before he got there. He just didn't wake up one day and say, oh, I'm going over there. Of course they're talking. Of course they've explained to one another, why wouldn't they be? And I don't know that for 1,000 of fact, but I'm taking it.
So in a way, you're in a trick bag over this question because
In a
you
sense.
love Melo, but you're saying, but you're trying to have it both ways.
No, I'm not.
I'm all in on Carmelo to the Cavaliers. Listen, to me, it's offensive to put Kevin Love in the same sentence with Carmelo Anthony.
I'm not saying that.
I know, but you are.
Yeah.
You are.
I'm not saying
You're
that.
basically saying he's a better player. I never loved Kevin Love, even when he was in Minnesota.
Well, then tell
for
the truth
6
then.
years.
Well, then the truth is
Okay.
then.
No,
That's
I have
why you would
upset
take him.
Okay.
But
for 6 years, he was he was the leader in Minnesota. And how many times did they make the playoffs? 0 times.
That's why it was so
because
easy for him to go to Cleveland.
He's not that guy. He's not made of that kind of stuff. He's not a superstar. You could say give him star because he's got ability. We know that.
yeah,
you know,
If
you know what
say-
else he has, though? He's got a ring.
Well, he
He's
lucked
got-
into one last year.
He's got
Don't
a
do
Thanks
ring.
to
that, Skip.
Draymond Green.
Don't do that, Skip.
He's got a ring, though. He's got a ring. So
All right,
you've
but
already
you know what?
proven.
He came up small in the finals last year. He did.
You see him D Steph Curry up? Steph Curry couldn't get around him. He put that hawk on him.
You just said that
Put that hawk
Kevin
on him.
Love D'd up Steph
him
Curry.
up.
That's laughable to me.
First of all, Carmelo Anthony is one of the most underrated players. People say he's overrated. I think he's totally underrated because he's uninspired.
I agree.
That's the only reason I
LeBron had
feel
a
like.
quote the other day, and he said, "I don't know how unhappy Melo is, but he does know how."
Of
unhappy he is."
course.
And he says,
That's his
"You
best
would-"
friend.
He basically said you would see a different player if he got into a circumstance in which he could thrive and be happy.
Can you imagine-
That would be LeBron's circumstance.
I don't
Can
know
you
of any
imagine how
rule.
happy it'd be, Mo, if Kevin and Bron and Kyrie and Carmelo in that starting lineup go up
You
in
just want it all. You want everything.
Golden State got a big
You want
one.
it to
Why
be a
can't we
Want it
mismatch.
all? That's wanting it all?
Yeah, well, it's
So what do they got to
it's-
Golden State?
So you're taking so which players on Golden State are you taking Carmelo over?
Carmelo over?
Yeah.
Over. You
If
taking
he's happy?
Carmelo? You
If he's
taking
happy.
Carmelo over Stephen Curry? You taking Carmelo over Klay Thompson?
Yes.
You taking
Over Clay, I will.
No way.
You
I
taking
will.
Carmelo
No way.
over Klay?
I'll take him over Draymond too. I will. I just
No.
think he's better than Draymond.
Klay Thompson is the top
Hey,
3 two-way player in all of
And
basketball.
you know what? You said they don't have enough
I love
size.
Carmelo.
Hey, you don't think Carmelo and LeBron can rebound if they put their mind to it?
I think
Those
Carmelo
two?
Anthony can do anything.
He can. I
Anything he
agree.
sets his mind to. I
Thank
saw him
you.
do it. I know the NCAA is a different level of
but he did.
basketball.
He carried
but
that team.
I saw him do it when he's
carried it.
inspired. I saw him do it with the Nuggets when he
Yep,
was
he
inspired
did.
those early years.
Yep.
And he went out there and he put on a show.
I'm not
He
taking,
did.
you're not taking Carmelo over Klay Thompson. He's the third best two-way player in all of basketball.
I'm gonna take
You
him.
got Kawhi and Bron, and then you got Klay as two-way players. What other player is better than him two-way?
Are you taking him over in San Antonio? You just said it.
Kawhi Leonard.
Are you taking him over Kawhi Leonard?
Taking who over?
Carmelo.
No. Kawhi's taking it up to another level because his offense is now starting to match his defense.
Okay.
Well, at this point, the way Phil Jackson's acting, Carmelo might stay there just to spite
Well,
everybody.
that's your theory.
Well, I listen. I want the best for Carmelo again.
Cut him.
I know him as a person, and I just know he's just uninspired.
Hey,
It's just uninspired. He's playing his heart out. He's
Time out.
trying.
No mercy. Just days after losing the Super Bowl, the Falcons are making big changes to their coaching staff. Steve Sarkisian was named offensive coordinator yesterday, replacing Kyle Shanahan, who left to be the head coach of the 49ers. And reports say Richard Smith will not be brought back as defensive coordinator. Skip, what are you making of all these Falcons moves?
This was a sad and a laughable overreaction by the Atlanta Falcons organization. And I'm going to assume, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm going to assume it came from the top down, that somebody all the way up to the owner said, heads must roll. Somebody must pay for this. Because remember, Arthur Blank dominated in the field of business. He was one of the co-founders of Office Depot. Home Depot. And he's known nothing but winning off the field. And now he's become known as the dancing fool up in the press box and down in the locker room, right? And on the sidelines. So we saw him again and again as it rose toward 28-3. He and his wife are up there high-fiving and dancing. They go down on the field to celebrate Atlanta's first Super Bowl victory. And what happened? They got Brady'd. That's what happened. They
By
got
the time
Tom
he got
Brady.
down from his
I know.
suite.
And So now it was such humiliation for this man to have to stand down there in the national spotlight and watch this disaster happen to his Atlanta Falcons that somebody must pay. So wait a second, you're going to fire the defensive coordinator and the defensive line coach? Well, hold on. Your defense came into this game maybe the hottest defense in pro football, right? Mm-hmm. And this defense for 2.5 quarters made Tom Brady look old and overmatched. Am I right?
Yeah, it did.
They were all over him. New England couldn't block the Atlanta Falcons' pass rush. New England couldn't run an inch on this defense. And then if you give Brady enough time, and I'm not talking about time in the pocket, just in the game, he's going to pick this and he's going to try that and he's going to experiment here and he's going to probe away over here and he's finally going to say, wait a second, we could do that. I could flip it to James White over here. Wait, Chris Hogan, they can't cover him on that route, or Malcolm Mitchell on this out. Like that corner can't cover. And all of a sudden, he started to find ways to pick apart the defense. And 28-3 became 34-28. And yet, that's the defensive coordinator. Wait a second. Dan Quinn he's the coordinator of the defense. Am I right about that? So could you fire Dan Quinn, who could have been coach of the year? No, but you could fire the coordinator.
What happened on Sunday is a fireable offense.
Okay, well, you could argue that. But it also was a fireable offense, more so to me, for the offensive coordinator. So I can make the case that Kyle Shanahan was blessed to have a secured job in waiting, a head coaching job, because
making $8 million a year.
Okay, $8 million a year.
6 years.
6 years? Yeah.
6 years.
Okay. So if you look at where Kyle Shannon's been, he's bounced all around. He's been with the Bucs and the Texans, the Redskins, the Browns, the Falcons. I could make a case he might be out on the street looking for another coordinator or even maybe a quarterback job, coaching quarterbacks, if in fact he hadn't fallen into the 49ers job, because I thought he was more at fault than the defense was, as you said, okay? So it's fireable offenses everywhere, but again, this team was up 28-3, and now you're just heads are gonna roll because of that. I just think it's an absurd overreaction, and it's going to hurt this team going forward. I don't think this team is gonna recover, and this is the kind of team that misses the playoffs next year.
Skip, they panicked, and they aren't getting over this anytime soon. The question I ask for whoever made this choice, if Kyle Shanahan did not have the 49ers job, would you have relieved him of his duty? Probably not.
I don't know.
I don't think so. Because look at Brian Cox. Brian Cox took Vic Beasley, who they thought was a bust.
Yeah.
Vic Beasley won the sack award.
He did.
Deacon Jones sack award, most sacks in the season. Look at the improvement in Grady Jarrett. Mm-hmm. He tied the Super Bowl record with 3 sacks. So clearly the offense, it's not like they're talented. It's not like they got a great front forward rotational. Mm-mm. So I thought B. Cox did a great job, the D-line coach. Too. Richard Smith, I know Richard Smith very well. He was my special teams coach. Yeah. He was with me for two years in Denver. Mm-hmm. Dan Quinn, you called the majority of these plays. The same thing happened. See, the way I look at it, and this is what Mike Shanahan used to tell us, if an offensive team, if we do not run X amount of plays, that's our fault. Yeah. For the New England Patriots to run 93 plays, that's on the Falcons offense. That's not on Richard Smith. He has to be out there on the field because why? Because Kyle Shanahan, up 28-3, refused to run the football. You had 3 times, you had 3rd and 1, and you tried to throw a ball. It was 3rd and 1 when Devontae Freeman missed the block. It took them 2 minutes and 28 seconds to go 25 yards for a touchdown. How many minutes would it have taken them if they didn't run the ball and didn't get the first down? They punted. Time is your ally. It's not your foe. And so I think the majority of the blame goes on Dan Quinn. You know why? Because he can hear both sets of calls. He can hear the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator. And the one thing we know, let's check Nick Saban. When Lane Kiffin wasn't running the ball like he was supposed to, he walked right down there and said, you run that ball. Dan Quinn could have said, Dan Quinn, did you see what happened to you in Seattle? When they threw the pass, instead of running it, you saw what happened.
Yeah, a great play was made by the cornerback, but go ahead.
Yeah, okay. He also saw in the 4th quarter, again, the arrogance. Skip, you're up. You do not have to be so aggressive. Don't play all that man coverage. Play some quarters. Play some cover 2.
They played some zone in the last 2 drives, but it was too late.
It was too late.
Yep.
Earlier. Play quarters. Play cover 6, quarter, half. Change it up. You lining up in a defense, that's Tom Brady. Even the most basic quarterback, if you line up in a defense, they can pick you apart. Imagine with Tom Brady, you done gave him the answer to the test. You don't think he's gonna ace it? You never accept anything in a win you wouldn't have lost. Ask yourself this question. Had they won that game, would they have relieved Richard Smith and Brian Cox of their duties?
No, they give them raises because they were
Exactly.
outstanding for 2.5
So
years.
now, Dan Quinn said we ran out of gas. Now you're blaming two of your coaches that it was their fault. Because anytime you fire somebody after you lose, what are you saying? What kind of message is that sending? Well, they wanted to do other things. No, they didn't. You think it's their fault. 93 plays, Skip. They ran, 51 plays in the second half. 51. The Falcons ran 46 the whole game. If you're a defense, how do you compete with that? If your defense has to face 70 or more plays, it's your offense fault because they're not staying on the field. And I get it. Sometimes you get a pick 6, Skip, and you got to go right back out there because you kick the field, kick the PAT, now you're kicking off, you're back down the field. I get that. But when you got all these 2nd and 1s and these 3rd and 1s and you're 5 and 7-step drop, why?
Okay, I got that. But just don't forget, your defense is up against the greatest football player ever playing at his highest level. So
what can Tom Brady do if he doesn't have the ball, if he's on the sideline?
You got it, but he has the ball enough. But I'm just saying, don't blame the defense. Don't condemn the defense. You can't fire defensive coaches because I thought they did really well to get to that point of.
Yes.
He had 3 points. Did Tom Brady through 2.5 quarters? Right.
With 8:31 left.
Okay.
Atlanta had gone up 28-3.
Okay.
They ran the ball 4 more times, Joy Taylor. Skip.
Well,
Skip, help me think. Skip, you covered again. I don't know anything. I just played 14 years. I won a couple of Super Bowls. But explain it to me, Skip. You can explain it better than I can.
Just to defend Shanahan a little bit, they had
It's
tried to run the ball about 4 or 5 times before then, and starting at halftime, New England said, we will say no to that.
Skip.
And Devontae Freeman could not get out of the blocks in the second half.
Sometimes you run the football
Just to kill the clock.
It's not for your offense. It's for your defense.
No, I agree. At 28-3, if you just start doing clock management, if you start doing the math,
Stop
the
snapping
math
the ball
will
at
tell
20
you,
seconds on
right,
the clock.
You will.
Run the clock down. Snap the ball.
It's easy to say now, but they were, as they said back in Texas, you dance with who brung you. What brung them was throwing the football to Julio and Sanu and to Taylor Gabriel. And they kept trying to do it with 5 and 7-step drops, and it blew up in their face.
Okay, I intend to dance with who brought me there. But if she gets tired, I'm going to find me another partner. You saw your defense getting tired.
Yep.
Kyle Shanahan, run the football.
Okay.
This was arrogance on his part. This is what we do. Well, what you do is lose because you cost this team the game. This is not on the defense, Skip.
Okay. So are you saying you would have fired Dan Quinn after the game?
That's a fireable offense, absolutely.
You'd fire Dan Quinn after you're up 28-3 and you lose to Tom Brady and you'd fire him?
Well, hold on, wait a minute.
Really? This is a man who picked the Atlanta Falcons who still hasn't gotten over it.
Skip, look, when I pick a team, yes, I think they're going to win. But I don't lose sleep like I did when I played because
I don't know about that, but
no, I slept really good. Maybe I was because I was tired.
We're very tired.
yes.
But Skip, the biggest deficit ever overcoming the Super Bowl was 10 points. Twice it was in the first quarter. The other time it was Tom Brady starting the fourth. Skip, you had a 19-point lead, and you blew it. All you had to do was hold on for 15 minutes.
So are you saying that it's possible that Arthur Blank told Dan Quinn, either you fire those two or I'm going to fire you?
That's possible.
Put him on that hot seat?
That's possible.
Because I don't think Dan Quinn loved having to fire 2 defensive assistants for what he knew he was largely to blame for.
Skip, even if you just run the ball 3 times and punt, there's not enough, and you don't turn it over. Skip, you got 1st and 10. Think about this, Skip. You got 1st and 10 on the 22. if you run the ball 3 times, you're going to force them to use timeouts. If they don't want to use the timeouts, you're going to burn at least 90 seconds to 2 minutes. You try an under 40-yard field goal. So now I believe Matt Bryant makes it. It's an 11-point ball game. Now the Patriots must score a touchdown, get the 2-point conversion, onside kick it, get the ball back.
Okay.
There's not enough time.
But you underestimate how desperate a team gets that hasn't been to the Super Bowl playing against number 12 across the field, because you get panicky. You start saying, we have to go for the throat here instead of running the clock by running the football.
Yeah. Situational football is not only involving the players. I needed to know, go back, okay, in this situation, what's the defense in this area of the field, this down and distance, what they like to do. You understand.
Yep.
But as a coach, you also must understand situational football. With 23-31 left in the ball game, we're up 25 points. We need to take some of the air out of the football.
I got it. So, last quick point. They have now added Steve Sarkisian, obviously, in place of Kyle Shanahan.
Correct.
I think that's a shaky move, because Sark was in pro football for 1 year as Norv Turner's quarterback coach, and trust me, Norv called every play that year.
Yes.
And he did all the big, all the big decisions were Norv's. So he got to observe Norv Turner for 1 year, and now you're going to entrust him calling plays for one of the most explosive offenses we've ever seen in pro football. I think it's a little out there. I think it's a big gamble.
And a lot of times, normally what you see, it's going to be interesting to see what type of offense he runs. Normally when you have an offense this high-powered, the incoming OC learns that offense to keep it going. So what do you do now? Because if you notice, Tom Brady has had the same system, whether it was Charlie Weiss calling the plays, whether it was Bill O'Brien, Josh McDaniels. It didn't matter who called the plays. You were running the same offense.
Okay, and the irony was that what did Sark not do down the stretch against Clemson in a national championship game? He did not run the football after Bo Scarborough went out. Am I right?
Yep.
Okay, so he was guilty of the same thing that you're saying that Kyle Shanahan could have been fired for, but had another job he could go to.
Yes.
They're making all the adjustments after the Super Bowl.
Wow.
Ex post facto.
Exactly. No mercy. This is the Skip and Shannon Undisputed podcast, where we're delivering you an unscripted, unfiltered, undisputed version of the biggest topics of the day's show. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, like us on Facebook at Undisputed on FS1, follow on Twitter at Undisputed, and catch us at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 Pacific, Monday through Friday on FS1. You can find us on channel 219 on DirecTV, 150 on Dish. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'm your host, Joy Taylor. That's where we leave all the debates for today. We're back tomorrow with another great show. We'll see you then.
Fox Sports 1 of 1.